let's say it came out and it's good. They kind of just relaunched a new franchise coming off of a cool, superhero vampire movie, and Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out. Like, are we generally rosier about Marvel?
I also worry, though, if we had gotten everything as is, that the superhero fatigue would have been like a louder criticism.
Welcome back to the Break Room. In the spirit of What If Season 3, which comes out this winter, and the What If video that Jessica put out on the new Rockstars channel today, we're going to pose some what ifs to some of our favorite franchises. Like, what if Blade came out? I'm Zach Huddleston, and joining me today, he's a watcher with a man bun. It's Brandon Barrick.
That's right. I've seen all realities, and this man bun is always there.
And he's Captain Carter for the Break Room. It's Evan Yee's here.
Oh, chaps.
Oh, boy.
There it is.
Oh, I love
Bold attempt. We're fully elseworlding today, folks. Evan, should we get into some possible what-if scenarios that then we can play out? And we want to hear from you on the chat. What are some possible implications if... what were the further dominoes that would have fallen if some of these events had played out differently than they did in reality?
Yeah, and also, listen, there's a lot of factors at play when we talk about these what-ifs, right? Like anything, so when we say fully Elseworlds, like, we'll try to, like, remove as much of, reality, just, like, fully blue skying it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we should start with that first one. What if Blade came out? On time.
And now On Time can have multiple meanings here too, because that movie was delayed multiple times.
Multiple times, yeah. The first release date, all the way back, November 3rd, 2023. We would have had it by now.
Well, and the first thing that comes to mind, if it had come out in November of last year, is Deadpool and Wolverine hits different.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Wesley Snipes showing up is a little different. And in fact, his line, there can only be one, right? Or there can only ever be one. Feels even more aggressive.
I mean, it's possible they don't even put that in the movie, right? Because it did feel like Deadpool and Wolverine, like, when we have the picture of the slate from Comic-Con 2022, there's no Deadpool and Wolverine on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it totally feels like it would have been completely different. I don't know if we would have even gotten... I mean, Brandon, we wouldn't even have the shirt you're wearing.
We wouldn't even have the shirt. I mean, they were developing Deadpool 3. Like, Fox was developing it before Disney had, like, fully acquired them. But word on the street was that script kind of got blown up after, like, Disney came in. The original writers were still credited, but, like... I think a lot of elements of that movie went away. Now, they were teasing, like, this team-up movie, right? The end of Deadpool 2, during the post-credit scene. He has that whole little monologue with the Wolverine from X-Men Wolverine Origins, where he's like, I'm going to come looking for you, and we're going to go on an adventure. I need you to be ready. But that almost felt like wishful thinking at the time, right? Like, they were just kind of, wouldn't this be hilarious? Ha, ha, ha. But it did seem like they wanted to put Wolverine into the third Deadpool film. But that certainly was not on any slate at this, like, Comic-Con where the slate was announced. Now, if Blade had come out in November of 2023, that would have been 2 years after Eternals, right?
Yeah.
Eternals is November 2021.
Yeah.
And in theory, that would have continued whatever weird story we were going to get with Black Knight,
Ebony Blade.
And Ebony Blade. Like, all of that might have played out. Does that play into a Midnight Suns thing? Because if you're making a Blade movie, but you want to have this Black Knight character in there... Like, does that mean they were going to go full Midnight Suns with that original Blade script?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, I also want to pose, right, like, let's assume it came out last year and it was good. We have to kind of give it the benefit of the doubt because we haven't seen it, right? Let's say it came out and it's good. Now, instead of that, right, like, it kind of flipped release places with the Marvels, got pushed back and basically released in the Blade spot.
Yeah.
The Marvels, regardless of what you think of it, was not well received by the general public. I think it was the lowest grossing Marvel film ever put out.
Yeah.
I believe still today. Somewhere, near the bottom, right? Like, regardless of what you think quality-wise, it was not popular. Now, if instead Blade had come out and was a lot more popular, right? Like, and maybe we still had strikes. There's still kind of like a delayed release. This was still going to be a year with only one Marvel movie. But are the vibes a little different in 2024? If rather than kind of coming in on a nadir, hoping that, oh my God, the only one we have coming out this year is Deadpool Wolverine. There's a lot of pressure on it. If instead it's like, hey, they kind of just relaunched a new franchise coming off of a cool, superhero vampire movie, and Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out. Like, are we generally rosier about Marvel?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I feel like there's, when we're talking about this situation, a lot of the stuff would have probably kept their release dates, right? So nothing would have been pushed. There would have been no reason to restructure this specific year around one movie. And whether that movie would have been this or a Captain America Brave New World that was maybe more like a Civil War, like an Avengers, like a pseudo-Avengers movie. I feel like, I also worry, though, if we had gotten everything as is, that the superhero fatigue would have been like a louder criticism.
Yeah, pull that slate up again. So, again, the 2023 that happened, right? Like, we didn't get Blade. We also didn't get Ironheart.
Yeah.
Right? So, we got a much lighter last year, Marvel-wise. But, like, again, we have to give Ironheart the benefit of the doubt and assume that will be good. But, like, you could also see a world in which if Blade also wasn't well received and Ironheart wasn't well received, boy, that's a tough stretch for Marvel to have two films and a series maybe not be super hot. And then you come, you have animation stuff. You have What If Season 2 and Echo this year and X-Men 97, smaller properties, animation, live action stuff. But it could be very different. Though I wonder, again, giving Blade the benefit of the doubt, assume it came out last year and it was good. Are we already penciling in 2028, 2027, Blade 2, Midnight Suns film, right? Right now we can't we don't even know when we're going to get the first appearance of Blade. Some people are kind of already jumping forward in their mind. Just skip Blade and go to Ghost Rider or jump straight to Midnight Suns or something like that. But like, if it came out, it was successful. It proved like Marvel horror, is a bankable property. Like, are we already starting to, is that filling the gaps between the two Avengers movies? We're going to get a Blade 2 or something like that.
Yeah, what do you think, Brandon?
I think especially if they put out this Blade movie in November 2023 and it's rated R, right? Because Deadpool and Wolverine's their first rated R MCU title. They put that out. It's a little darker. It's a little more rated R. I think that does push forward the kind of like horror side of Marvel, especially with Werewolf by Night having come out at that point too. It would have come out the year before in 2022. So I could see them like kind of leaning that way, heavier, faster, and having those characters show up in what was going to be the next Avengers 5 and 6.
Pull up the timeline again. Really didn't think we'd reference it this many times. It does come out before Agatha, which is interesting, right? We're getting Agatha first. It does feel like that we would have had more connective tissue then maybe between those two. What I think is interesting about thinking about Midnight Suns, though, and like a Blade 2, quote unquote, it's like, even when this slate was out, there was no official announcement of Shang-Chi 2, right?
Right.
So they had all these plans, but we know that a lot of it now is like because they had to fill in all these gaps for like streaming and blah, blah, blah. And like this, like, please deliver content all the time. Content. So I don't know if we would have had like a Midnight Suns, only because I don't know if they knew what another team was going to look like.
Yeah.
Because we don't have, obviously lots of people are very excited about the possibility of a Young Avengers thing. That hasn't happened. We haven't even had Avengers. And I think that like I don't know what they're going to do with like bringing people together, because it is hard when you think about like trying to top Endgame, that big, convergence of everybody, if there's like these mini little teams that keep going forward. Yeah.
Do we think we see Mahershala Ali in one of the Avengers movies?
Oof. Like, do you want to see Blade before his movie? I mean, they might have to at this point. I mean, there's been some rumors in the last week of like, oh no, Marvel's the next movie that they want to get into production is Blade because they're so far along on production. Meaning, like, they've had several directors attached. They've had several versions of the
script. Already dropped lots of money on that project.
Lots of money. Last year there was like a casting notice for extras. Now that was probably B unit stuff that didn't even involve Mahershala at all. It might have been like
That
if they're going to do
unused
origin
translation or whatever.
Yeah, or like origin story stuff with his mom where she's getting bit while she's pregnant or something like that doesn't involve him at all.
Yeah.
Like they may have just wanted to get that in the can and have it ready to go.
Yeah.
But I think
They sold it all to sinners.
right. I mean, it might have. But at this point, I think you could have him show up, right?
I would say, I bet they've at least discussed it's a nice make good to a guy that's kind of been bounced around a lot, right? And, you know, we got there was no like new character debuts in Infinity War Endgame.
Captain
right?
Marvel, kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
you
yeah,
she had a
get the
movie in
tease of
between,
Captain
but-
Marvel, but then you get her.
Yeah. Whereas, like, maybe they could, you know, do that now, right? They could introduce one or two characters. It's also like if Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars are going to end up being like the other Avengers movie, one of the most successful movies of all time, boy, what a hell of an introduction for a character, right? Even if he only gets 5 minutes of screen time and like one cool scene or something like that, right? And
he's not a character you have to explain so much. Because, like, visually, people would understand who it is.
The glasses and the sword and the whatever, and people are like, whoa! And Mahershala Ali is a very recognizable actor, too.
Yeah. So it does feel like, listening to that, it's like, best case scenario, the movie does great. If it came out in time, movie does great, pushes the horror aspect, and then they're like, you know what? Parallel to Avengers, we'll do the Midnight Suns. We'll do it.
I mean, the
think
first
if it
Blade
does
movie
well,
would be called Blade. I don't think they would call it Midnight Suns, even if they get introduced in that movie, because I don't know how ubiquitous the term Midnight Suns is to the casual MCU movies only fan, right? And I do think with the slate,
Did you just say OnlyFans?
only fan,
Oh, okay. Movies only
movies only
fans, not movies only fans.
bead of sweat dripping down my face. Well, and in that little chock-a-block of scheduling they had, right? Even Ironheart has kind of mystical, magical elements, and it does feel like the horror aspect of MCU or Marvel and the magical side are closer to each other than like the horror and like the tech side.
With Doctor Strange being the kind of the most clear theatrical horror property, right?
And the hood is obviously attached to like the kind of like dark magic area. Obviously, Agatha is attached to like the magical and like the evil dark elements in that way. So it did seem like they wanted to put all this together to have it be an element of what Secret Wars was going to be, right? Yeah. That it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of science and technology, but there's going to be a ton of like weird magic, multiverse stuff.
So maybe part of the what if Blade comes out, there are more supernatural characters in Secret Wars. Maybe now, because it didn't come out, maybe they lean into more classic Avengers type characters.
And I think that's why they lean towards Doom, which is both science and magic put together. But it does feel more like, you know, the science-y Fantastic Four side. Yeah. Than the magical Wanda and Doctor
And it
Strange
feels
side.
like maybe the idea of all this, like, of magic is maybe... It's too confusing. Quotes around all this. It's too confusing with the multiverse as well, right? Yeah. Like when is this? When is magic creating the multiverse? Right? Yeah.
Time travel, multiverse,
branch timelines. Are those multiverses, or are there just different timelines in our one universe?
And then we got what ifs too, right? Yeah. Alternate realities.
I feel like the first Blade before sunrise.
That's what you call it?
Oh, sorry. It's just him and Julie Delphi talking about like how they could fall in love?
Yeah. Okay. Then, before sunset.
Why don't you call it Blade, Here Comes the Sun? And you get a nice Beatles cover in the trailer.
They don't get the budget for that.
It's a cover. You can afford a cover.
What are you getting, Jack Johnson to do that?
Yeah, you get Jack Johnson in here. It's I Am Sam 2, Blade Rises.
Oh.
He's making banana pancakes.
Okay, really quick, we want to thank, we've got some interesting other what ifs coming up, but first we want to thank one of our sponsors, Dollar Shave Club. Brandon's got one of their products right there.
What if I could grow facial hair?
That's
then
the
I would
what
be
if.
Dollar Shave Club.
No,
Dr. Shave Club.
No, you can grow nose hair, right? We've also got the nose hair.
Can I? Let's get camera 6.
Camera 6 is the up nose shot.
It's on my OnlyFans, the up nose shots. Dollar Shave Club's gonna love that.
Actually, that's a separate site called Nosy Fans. Dollar Shave Club has been sponsoring us all week. We want to thank them. They make great, fairly priced products, grooming products. We actually have, I mentioned, we have their nose hair trimmer. We have One Wipe Charlie's kind of body wipe type products. The diamond pattern grip on the handle of their razor helps you get precise control.
How many blades on one of them razors?
6.
Whoa. The Sinister 6?
Yeah.
There's nothing sinister about how you'll look, though.
That's right.
Unless you want a sinister look.
It's more like Skinister. Okay?
Mr. Skinister.
Mr. Skinister.
You're gonna love the way your face looks.
I've had breeding pits to develop the best beard of all. Okay. But don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself.
Please don't take our word for it.
Please. Whatever you do.
They're begging you not to take
Don't take our word for it. Try it for yourself. You can visit their site right now for 20% off, $20 or more. Get your products delivered right to your door. Visit dollarshaveclub.com/breakroom and use promo code breakroom for 20% off, $20 or more. And remember, however you shave, Dollar Shave Club is here to help you stay handsome.
Ooh.
Or sinister, if you want to look sinister.
Or Skinister. Okay. Another big Marvel what if.
Here we go. I like this one.
And I mean, there's a couple things involved with this that we don't have to get into
also
detail.
asking it in the chat too.
What
so.
if they
important.
stuck with Kang?
This is crazy.
What if Marvel? Now, I guess this is assuming. This is not saying what if Jonathan Majors didn't get into trouble. This is assuming he got into trouble, but Marvel was like, nope, we're riding the horse we came in on. Okay. We're assuming his personal life stayed normal. Nothing came out.
This is a world where I think either they recast Kang. They were like, no, we've got the scripts. Destin Daniel Cretton's attached. He loves this. We're going to go. Who cares what Kang looks like? Or Jonathan Majors was never cast in the first place. Because you have to assume, there was a lot of rumors when it looked like they were going to maybe recast that, like Coleman Domingo was approached.
Yeah.
I'm sure tons of actors in Hollywood were approached about Kang and auditioned for it. Actors audition all the time for MCU projects. They never get them. At D23 this year, Coleman Domingo was brought on stage when they announced that he's the voice of Norman Osborn in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. He was so excited. He was like, I've always wanted to play like a villain in one of these stories. Like he loves the idea of a villain. And he met with Marvel to talk about Kang at some point.
Yeah.
So like, let's say he was either originally cast, it's him and Loki, or like they bring him back in after Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and they're like, we're going to go with it, right?
But regardless, the next Avengers movie is not called Doomsday. It's called Kang Dynasty.
Kang Dynasty. And also, Evan and I were kind of talking about this. This probably means, too, that the ending of Quantumania is different. Because we know that there were several different endings for that movie that they were kind of bouncing around, and they did some reshoots and stuff. And I think in a world where they're totally sticking with Kang, that they maybe either leave Ant-Man behind,
which they should have done.
Which they should have done. Paul Rudd should have been left behind.
Wait. Remind me of the timeline. Didn't Jonathan Majors get in trouble after Quantumania came out? So why would they have changed Quantumania?
Well, I mean, Marvel's line partially is that like audience didn't react well to Kang getting defeated by a bunch of ants.
Yeah.
And listen, I don't hate it. But if Marvel's gonna be like, this is our big bad, but he got killed by ants, I think the audience was like, what? Well, then how is he a big bad, right? And I don't think that like the character was given the amount of time to kind of be like fleshed out in the right way. Obviously, Jonathan Majors' situation accelerated the timeline of how many chances they were going to give that character. Because He Who Remains was awesome in Loki, right? Like that's such a great way to kind of set up like coming off an Endgame, and he's setting up that there's this whole other thing out there. But yeah, I don't know. It would be really interesting to see. It would have been really interesting to see how they got from Quantumania to Kang Dynasty if his character didn't appear in any of these other movies too.
But I think in this world where they stick with Kang, he does appear.
He's in the Marvels?
He's in the Marvels,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
You think in like a post-credit?
Yeah.
Or like, I say this all the time on the Breakroom, but like the Thanos level involvement in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. That level of involvement where somebody reports to him and is like, oh, hey, like, I'm carrying out all your wishes, but like, this is okay, right?
The equivalent of like at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, like you just see a hand reach out and like grab Cassandra Nova's wallet or something like that.
Or even, Marvel's has this kind of plotline where Dar-Benn's looking for the Nega bands, and and we also know that Shang-Chi's rings were like calling out to someone.
Right.
I think that all gets tied into Kang a little bit more, and is not so much like, oh no, it's like the Kree are looking for this technology. Instead, it's more like Kang knows that in every universe, like these elements are important.
Yeah.
And so like each Kang wants to collect like the rings, wants to connect.
Now, then let me posit this question, right? So you're presenting in this what if, there is this phase of Marvel is a much more cohesive storyline, kind of like the Infinity Saga was, right? Where like,
or at least appeared to us to be.
Yes, yeah, and maybe some of that, a lot of the Infinity Saga was ex post facto and kind of patched together through post-credit scenes and stuff like that. But if they were right now, right, Deadpool and Wolverine, completely unrelated to the Marvels, probably going to be completely unrelated to Brave New World, which will probably be completely unrelated to Thunderbolts. Maybe there's some Thunderbolts, Brave New World connective tissue. We don't know.
Yeah, they feel of a piece, but the stories, the more we see of it, do feel like they're divergent.
Yes,
right?
and everything we've heard, both official releases and any leaks, those movies are unconnected, right?
Yeah.
And both of those movies are not directly leading to an Avengers film, right?
Yeah.
So in this world, if Kang were still the big bad for the next phase, there would be threads through these films. These films would feel less standalone and more like of this kind of continuum of MCU films.
I think so. It would affect like the end of Loki, right? Because at the end of Loki, there's kind of this weird line of like, oh, we've wrapped up this weird He Who Remains problem and like all these different like Kang variants. I think it affects like the Fantastic Four, this movie that we're gonna get soon, where they're probably going to tease Doctor Doom in that movie, but it's probably more of a Kang-centric story in that film. I mean, they still do Galactus, right? But maybe Kang's involved somehow.
He's the Herald.
He's the Herald. Or, like, there is a Kang in that timeline that, like, they've either defeated already or is warning them about Galactus for their own purposes. Destin Daniel Cretton stays tied onto that, does not go over to Spider-Man, right?
Oh, true.
That means Spider-Man has a different director. Sam Raimi comes back. He directs the next Spider-Man movie.
I mean, GSU Eagle also reminding us in the chat as something that we've said on the Breakroom a lot. I think Kang was originally set up as the big bad, but Marvel did pivot to Doom, taking them all out to make him much a bigger threat. Like I think we theorized that Kang was never going to be the saga's villain, right? If Thanos was like this villain of the Infinity Saga, that Doom at some point would kind of wipe him out, or between Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, Doom steps in and is like, get out of here. But Dashiell, bring up that timeline one more time. Like, look at all these things, right? Like,
that doesn't even go to Kang Dynasty, right?
Yeah,
like that's right to the right of that.
But like,
screen.
these are all the things that could have been affected by like the presence of Kang in these movies, right? Or Guardians and Secret Invasion's too far along, right? Though Secret Invasion did feel kind of hacked.
Yes,
though
it also feels like kind of the deal Marvel made with James Gunn was like Guardians got to finish its story and didn't really have to service any other Marvel properties.
And it's like, in this world is Captain America at the time New World Order. And Thunderbolt, are there problems related to Kang? Is it a world where they're still recovering from the blip or whatever, but also they now know of this like multiversal threat and they're trying to prepare for it?
Yeah.
And it's not this new story we're gonna get with Red Hulk and the leader and adamantium coming from Tiamat and all that stuff. It's like very different. It's more of like we have to prepare the world for
our Earth 616 against a new Kang every movie.
I will say there's good and bad to this what if.
Yeah.
I do appreciate, and maybe one thing we've been lacking in some of the Marvel properties later, there is no looming background threat, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the Dar-Benn of this film, but there's nothing on the other side of Dar-Benn. There's nothing like an even greater threat that like looms after this film is over, right? We defeat Cassandra Nova, but then like it's kind of literally ends happily ever after, right? In Deadpool and Wolverine. So like I wouldn't have minded if even you get your happy ending, but then in a post-credit or just some kind of that was one of my favorite parts of Quantumania. Like that has kind of a creepy ending.
Oh yeah,
when he's walking down the street and like he realizes like, oh, it's not happily ever after.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we would have got more vibes like that through these other releases.
Yeah.
I will say the one good thing is I don't know how scary a clumps of Kangs is. You know what I mean? Like Jonathan Majors in like 12 different costumes.
Sure. Yeah.
And if that's what we're building to, if we're just slowly gonna like pick off one Kang variant
any
per
of them
movie,
could die because there'll be another
and there's
one,
no stakes because literally there's a stadium of them.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
that storytelling dramatically could feel a little underwhelming too.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Yeah. It would feel like the amount of variation between each version of him would not make sense at a certain point.
And it did feel weird that they were slating out like Avengers Kang Dynasty, but then also Avengers Secret Wars. And it's like, well, wouldn't Kang Dynasty be the last of this multiversal saga if Kang is your big bad?
Yeah.
Right? That always felt weird to me, that like, why is the second to last movie about Kang but not the last one?
Because then maybe he is, like we said a little bit earlier, he would have been just like puppeteering things until we get the dynasty in which they face all the major players in that post-credit scene that we saw, you know?
Yeah.
But
maybe.
Yeah.
Or much in the way that like Infinity War was a Thanos movie, and he's much less present in Endgame, right?
Yeah.
Like Kang Dynasty would have been a Kang movie, and then like, you know, Secret Wars is more about the gang kind of unraveling the story. Interesting, and like we'll be able to look back after Doomsday and
see,
have a lot of we never would have got one of the most holy shit San Diego Comic-Con moments of all time, right?
Do a supercut of every wrong theory we had going forward.
Also, the real what if is RDJ's bank account.
Yeah.
Doolittle 2 and 3?
We get Doolittle 2 and 3. We finally get Sherlock Holmes 3.
You've been fighting for that for ages.
I want to hit some Twitch questions while we're on Marvel before we move on to a different topic. Ryan Painter, how big of a role does Ant-Man, Wasp, and Stature play going forward? I feel like none.
In this reality?
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Rudd's definitely in both Avengers movies.
Yeah.
Do we see Wasp and Stature in either? You don't think they're gonna put him in?
I think he dies in Doomsday. I think he dies.
Okay, but he'll be in it. I mean, I wish. I don't know if they have the
yeah.
nards to kill any more
They
old
didn't
school
have the
Avengers.
nards to kill Michael Douglas.
They have to have the nards now. They have to.
Well, no. What they got to do, they got to kill him in Doomsday so they can bring him back as Mole Man in Secret Wars.
There you go.
Or whatever. Some other villain.
What if Feige is like, you know what, we're not casting any new people in the MCU, you just got to reuse all the actors.
Well, and
we scanned you. This was before
you.
pre-strikes.
I feel bad for the run of talented young actresses who maybe because people didn't enjoy the movie as much, or maybe the role itself was underwritten, kind of got dealt a not great hand. Catherine Newton is a really good actress. If you've seen her work in
Big Little Lies. She's in Big Little Lies.
Yes, in the what's the Karate Kid series? Cobra Kai. She was in that horror movie Freaky. Like, she's a talented actress. I think like Cassie Lang could be a fun character. I know, a lot of
she's
that movie
she's not in Cobra Kai. It's a different girl.
Dang.
Wait, season 2?
Dang.
Not seeing
this
it.
is good content. This is good content. Why don't you go to her page?
I'm on
You're on her page.
Oh, okay.
Damn, she's not.
She's in Mad Men. She's probably a baby.
She Don Draper in Mad Men?
No, I think you're thinking of Peyton List.
Okay. Oh, you're absolutely right. Another young blonde lady. Get her in as Cassie Lang. That'd be great.
Peyton List, come on the show.
I mean, the bit should be Cassie Lang gets recast no matter what, dog.
I mean,
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Next movie is Jenna Ortega. Movie after that.
They look very similar. Brian, put up 2 pictures.
Oh,
yeah.
You're okay. My apologies to both Peyton List and Catherine Newton. But Catherine Newton was in the other things I named.
Yeah, she is in.
But like, I mean, same with America Chavez, that actress's
Jackie Gomez.
Yes, and even a little bit Kamala Khan and in the Marvels, right? Like, I think like in a better role, right, in a movie people are more excited about. Yeah. As much as people be like, oh, Stature showing up in Doomsday, who cares? Like. I think that could be cool.
I think it'd be cool. Yeah. I mean, I think she was kind of dealt a bad hand, and also has publicly complained about how bad the wig was that she had to wear, that it affected her acting. That's bad.
Just and it was a COVID movie shot on green screen, right?
They reshot a lot of stuff. I think they really changed the ending of that movie in a not great way.
Yeah.
That character should have a lot more to do.
Yeah.
Now Wasp, we're seeing her.
She retired.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, fair play.
Evangeline Lilly retired.
Yeah.
Oh, from acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Are her and Zachary Levi partying?
I don't know. I mean, I still think Wasp will make an appearance in Secret Wars and/or Doomsday.
Yeah,
Because I think if you're
it's
doing
likely.
these team up type movies, like there's no reason not to have like Wasp show up unless they're gonna be like, you know, Scott Lang's like, yeah, she's dead. I don't know what to do.
Well, do you think we ever get in both of these Avengers movies? We think we get a Endgame style like holy shit they got 50
I think they'll do
characters
it again.
here,
Especially with the Russos coming back, they're
But
gonna
I mean,
do it again.
Do they even need it? Wouldn't it hit just as hard with like 8 Avengers in a big
like
in
a
a big
really
fight?
good scene. Yeah,
But
we'll see.
You can have both.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, you know that every night the Russo brothers are going to sleep thinking about how they top that moment. They're just like, oh.
Yeah, there's no reason not to try and top it.
and maybe they're
Or
like,
do
we
something
don't top it, we just do a oneer that just follows.
I mean, I think it would be something in my mind, especially with Secret Wars. It's like you have all these, universes colliding and they're passing through each other, and it's like they're fighting, and as it passes through, they literally change actors and stuff, and
Well,
it's just
and-
like
and
all
what
over
if-
the place, and some of them are animated.
Yes,
and, it's just
and what
crazy.
if the Secret Wars of it all, you don't get your C and D and E level Marvel characters. Instead, we get 4 Sam Wilsons, 4
Yes.
Hulks,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
5 different Buckies or whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
all these multiples of the characters fighting each other.
Yeah.
That could be an interesting way to do it without needing to be for people to be like, wait, who's that? Right? Like
I think too they'll pull in like the kind of OG Fox X-Men that were not in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh
you
yeah,
get a little Halle Berry.
Yeah, I think because they didn't put in like James Marsden and Famke Janssen and all of them. I think because they had kind of wrapped up that timeline kind of neatly in the original Fox X-Men series and Days of Future Past. Right, they gave it like a nice little ending for all of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think Deadpool and Wolverine necessarily wanted to go back to that well. They wanted to acknowledge all the other Fox movies, Blade and Fantastic Four and Elektra and all that. But I think for Secret Wars, they're going to be like, yeah, come back. Just do a little cameo.
Yeah,
for
I
us.
think they'll have those people, and I like your idea of like them switching actors. Like instead of like feeling like everyone's together in one place, it'll be like this kind of shattering of just like how this one character played by multiple different people, multiple different iterations we've seen before, are like working together, and they're like working with versions of people that they don't recognize, but they know like their values.
They'll
or
have
whatever.
every Jack Ryan there.
Yeah.
I'm talking Chris Pine. I'm talking Alec Baldwin. I'm talking Harrison Ford. Baby.
Krasinski?
Krasinski? Nah, fuck Krasinski.
Oh, they have all of them except
I hate
for
that Jack
the
Ryan.
current Jack Ryan.
That
they're
Jack
not going to
Ryan
get.
has killed over 100 men. Like, that Jack Ryan is insane. He must be stopped. That Jack Ryan's a problem.
Let's switch gears here a little bit.
Yeah.
There was
A Star Wars announcement
yes,
today.
some interesting news today that Simon Kinberg, writer director of fan
Say it,
favorite
Zach.
X-Men movie Dark Phoenix, would be
Is
developing.
he on the right or the left?
That's him on the left.
Oh, okay.
He shot Greedo.
We'll be developing a new trilogy of Star Wars films. Now, there's already been some kind of conflicting information out. I think Boris Kitt, who's in that tweet, later said this would not be episode 10, 11, 12. It is a trilogy, but it's not necessarily a continuation of the Skywalker saga.
Yeah,
right?
focus on new characters and new path forward. Definitely like after the sequel trilogy for sure. But,
Somehow, the Emperor returned.
yeah.
Holy Jesus.
Emperor Origin Series? Yeah, I mean, another Origin Series? What the accolade?
Maybe it'll be like Battlestar Galactica, where it starts on Earth with cavemen and Han Solo's there, and he's like,
What if it's just about George Lucas?
George Lucas?
Ooh.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm coming up with this Star Wars thing.
And he's like, my wife's always bugging me about the editing.
It's a whole
What does
trilogy.
she know?
Whole trilogy of film. So what if that spurred us? And again, this is super early development. We actually have a graphic of all the different Star Wars projects that are supposedly
Announced.
currently that have
In
been announced.
development, yeah.
Might be in some stage of development. Though it
Look at
feels
all
like
those.
some of these, like the Rogue Squadron or the Ryan Johnson Star Wars, are certainly already canceled and maybe not currently being worked on. But
Sean Levy's done. Taika Waititi done. I don't know.
probably
I want a Rogue Squadron movie more than anything, and it will never happen.
It will never
It'll
happen.
never happen.
But this kind of
Special
thinking.
presentation. Star Wars
Maybe.
special
I mean,
presentation.
I'd take it at this point.
Yeah.
What if
Wedge Antilles flying around.
our next what if? What if Star Wars had a trilogy ready to go
Okay.
after Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah, this is interesting to me because like Rise of Skywalker came out late December 2019, right? Like Christmas movie as they had been doing all the years preceding. But Mandalorian came out November of that same year.
Yeah.
I always thought that like Star Wars had doubled down on TV because it's like, wow, the fans like hate the new movies. Like they are really just like upset about it. So like, let's just do TV. Let's do this like weird, reset. But it's led to a long time. 2019 is 5 years, and it feels like longer because of all the stuff that's happened and like just.
And it's going to be 2 more years, right? It's not going to be until 2026 we finally get a Star Wars movie. Yeah.
So 7 years without a Star Wars movie. I mean, obviously prior to the prequel trilogy, it'd been years also before the Star Wars movie, but. Culture's moving fast now. Pop culture changes a lot.
And we'd been promised a Star Wars movie a year, right? Every other year would be a Skywalker saga, and then in between we'd get our Rogue Ones and our Solos and stuff like that. Yeah. So a big reverse course. And now some of this is just corporate stuff. Disney reads the writing on the wall with streaming. It's like, we need our own streaming service, so we've got to pump all our biggest IP. So they made this big Disney Plus commitment. But it is interesting. Also, where did they eventually end up doing anyways after 3 seasons of The Mandalorian is just doing a Mandalorian movie anyways. So even if it wasn't like ready to go when Rise of Skywalker comes out, but if they're like, oh, the series is a hit, let's fast track this to be our next theatrical push. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's going to be my hot take. I think if they'd immediately greenlit a Mando trilogy.
Wow.
Like movie?
Mando movie trilogy.
A Mando movie trilogy.
With a show?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not a show.
No show.
Let
Jon Favreau.
Let Favreau run.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe
they did the first season of the show, or
the first season has come out.
Oh, okay.
So proof of concept.
They're like, oh, this is the future of Star Wars. Here's $500 million. Go make 3 movies, right? I think that ends up better for Star Wars overall. I mean, that's not a hot take to say that that's a better last 5 years than the last 5 years we got.
Yeah.
But like, I also think it ends up being a better Mando. I mean, they clearly there was diminishing returns with each season of Mandalorian.
Debatable.
Okay. Well, and then if you want to lump in Book of Boba Fett and just that whole kind of saga, to me it has been a little diminishing returns, and I think like some of that is like, this is Disney across the board with Marvel and Star Wars properties, right? The struggle to adapt to streaming storytelling, right? They were really good at making movies and that kind of storytelling, and even decent at making classical cable, network 22 episode style of storytelling. But like figuring out what is an 8 episode streaming series, like how do you make that? How much should it cost? What do the budgets look like? What do the stories look like? Blah, blah, blah. Has been a giant learning curve for them.
Yeah.
If they would have just avoided that learning curve and gone back to what they were pretty good at, which is pumping out great movies, I could see like a lot of the stories that got told in Mando season 2 and 3 and Book of Boba Fett, right?
And even Ahsoka.
Right? Like if those instead are banger 2-hour and 20-minute movies, right? With bigger budgets, maybe you squeeze in a couple more recognizable actors. I think like that, I would also be more hyped than maybe I am now for the 2026.
Yeah, because there's
movie.
also nothing saying that you couldn't have done Mandalorian season 1 that or season 1 happens, then you do some type of like Mando season 2 is a movie that introduces Ahsoka. Then a second Mando movie is just Ahsoka the show, but with the Mandalorian,
in there and like Boba Fett.
Yeah,
with backup, because like
exactly
in the movie you entered. Mando meets Ahsoka. Luke Skywalker shows up, and Boba Fett's back. And then for the third movie, they're all together. Now Thrawn's
what if that's even the series naming mechanism rather than like A New Hope or Attack of the Clones? It's like Mandalorian and Grogu, Mandalorian and Ahsoka, Mandalorian and Boba, or whatever, right? Each one is and they're almost like
Now, Mandalorian and Boba, that's some good tea right there.
Ooh. Now, if they're going with this plan, let's say like they went with this movie plan, I think the interesting thing would be because they're doing this right after they just did their sequel trilogy, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we gotta tie all this into the rise of the First Order somehow.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna have, even though it's still a little bit before like Kylo Ren and all that stuff, I think you're gonna have elements of that play a much bigger role.
And it's a little too much snake eating its own tail. Yeah. You're trying to squeeze a trilogy in between 2 other trilogies, right?
Yeah.
Which
I think it's tough. I think they wouldn't be able to resist kind of like filling in some of the gaps there.
Yeah,
because at this time too, we pointed out Disney has put out like official the novelizations kind of tell the story from the end of Return of the Jedi to the beginning of The Force Awakening, how that all kind of came to be. And then these shows came around and it's like, well, they have to kind of weave around it too, where they're introducing characters that are related to other characters that we'll see later. Yeah. That's the problem they're in, which is why I think they love the idea of Peridia, where they're like, can we just go over there and not deal with this problem anymore? Because we're trying to tell a story inside of a story.
Or I guess we're kind of following on the path I started with, like, what if it's a Mando trilogy? What if it's an unrelated trilogy? What if they're like, we found this Rey character, gave her 3 movies, let's invent another new character. Let's maybe, like, if they had the guts to get away from the Skywalker saga, right? Like, I don't know. Do you need that for it to feel like a Star Wars movie?
I mean, it does feel like maybe it would have been like a what the James Mangold alleged movie, The High Republic, like, or like what is that era? Like, what if we did like just the formation of the Jedi, or like how the Republic came to be? Like, that's just we just go all the way back instead of doing it as a show. Just do it as 3 movies. You know? We'll show how it all started.
Would you have liked the Obi-Wan story as a movie rather than a series?
Oh, that's interesting.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy the Obi-Wan series, so it's like I want to say just because
it's just a tighter, 2-hour movie.
I do think like maybe actually, because maybe that is the right way. The fan response being like 3 movies with Ian McGregor back, like let's go.
Yeah. What if I'll throw out another crazy idea? Disney gets creative in-house, and they're like, oh, we got our Lucasfilm building over here. You know what that building over there is? Pixar. What if they pivot to a trilogy of animated films? Okay, maybe aimed at younger audiences. Like, all Pixar films are kind of aimed at kids, but obviously appeal to adults. Disney or Star Wars animation, obviously the same thing, right? Rebels and everything. Probably maybe even skews more adult than kid, but like, what if they did that while letting the Disney Plus series keep playing to the adult fan base more specifically, right? But like knowing that, like, not all films work theatrically now. There's been a lot written about, like, they don't make comedies anymore. They don't make rom-coms that get released in theaters, right? It's basically everything is like giant action, horror, and like an animation, or kind of the 3 genres that still work in theaters. It's like, what if they're like, cool, let's do that? What if they got like Brad Bird to direct
an animated Star Wars series.
In the style of Pixar, right? Like, that might have been the dumbest idea that's ever been uttered on this show. It would at least felt different and fresh. And even if they're still kind of trotting the Skywalker saga, at least they're approaching it in such a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, my nephew loves Young Jedi Academy.
I was going to say,
and I wouldn't be surprised if they rolled out a movie. I don't think they'd bother to put it in theaters, but they put it on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an interesting question, and it's kind of the great question of Star Wars, right? What is a Star Wars movie? Can you have a Star Wars movie without a stormtrooper, or like a TIE fighter, or a lightsaber, or what does the enemy in a Star Wars movie look like if it's not the Empire?
Right.
The closest we got was maybe Solo, which has a little bit of Empire in the beginning when he gets his name. Everyone hates that moment. Kind of love it. You're alone. But then once you get past that, it's like a heist movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's
different
double-crossing.
criminals
and
stuff.
Infus Nest, who's maybe the coolest villain name I've ever heard in my life. And that cool-ass mask. Like, that was all fun and different. I kind of enjoyed that movie for getting so far away from Star Wars. Like, it wanted to be as different as it could be. I think your challenge now is, like, as they approach a movie past the sequel trilogy, both Rey's movie and whatever this this new trilogy is going to be, like, it's going to be the Empire again, right? They cannot help themselves. I would love for them to try and find out what that is without it, but it's tough. I mean, this is the problem with the Bond movies, right? You have to do the same stuff in a Bond movie all the time. Even my beloved Mission Impossible franchise. When Tom Cruise dies in 50 years, they're not going to be able to make those movies anymore. They tried to bring Renner in, and Tom Cruise
said
no. He used the power of Xenu to push him out. But I mean, like, even like the Mission Impossible movies have like beats they hit in every movie, and I love it. Right? They have the weird practical tech. They have the fancy party they go to. They have the chase sequence. They have the big stunt.
Some bad that's often a former agent turned evil, right?
Yeah. So like, how do you do a Star Wars movie if you've got completely new elements that the audience doesn't know already? And that's the I think that's the biggest challenge for Mangold doing a High Republic movie. That was the tough thing with Acolyte was like they had the Jedi and they clung to it almost too much, I think, and they didn't really develop what the villain was in a fun. The villain was just kind of Sith, and it was like, oh, we're doing this again. Where instead of like in those like High Republic novels they've put out, they're trying to develop a different type of villain that's not just straight Sith. Like, what is it like to be in frontier space? That's a little more frightening than like a fully formed, powerful, rich empire.
And Andor makes an argument that you don't have to go beyond the Empire.
And I love it.
If you just, right, like if your storytelling like fleshes out the Empire in new and different ways and makes them like compelling and scary in ways that we haven't seen them before.
It's much more micro, right?
Yes.
It's like, I'm scared of these 4 people in the Empire, not just the Empire as a whole.
Yeah.
For sure.
And no lightsabers, baby. Don't make an Andor movie because I like Andor just being a long series.
We also want to thank one of our sponsors today, Mando. Not short for Mandalorian, short for mandoleic acid, which I believe is the active ingredient in a lot of their products. That's an ingredient that kills odor where it's born. Ooh. Okay, that's flying back in time.
Baby odor?
Strangling it in its crib. I don't know if that's how the science works, but it comes in 4 cologne quality scents. I've got some Mount Fuji stick deodorant here, right? Nice. I love this scent. Brandon, would you get a little bit of Mount Fuji in your nostrils?
It's like I was taken right to Japan.
The foot of that beautiful mountain.
Oh, there it is.
Gorgeous. That's a spring thing, though, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't know the cherry blossom season.
They won't let me in.
And we got some of their deodorant wipes here. They've got these 4 great scents, and they make these great products that fight odor all day long. And I can attest, if you put on Mando in the morning, in the evening, you're still smelling good, right? It's not just covering up your funkiness; it's literally eliminating it. It's preventing you from being funky in the first place. Their starter pack comes with. It's perfect for new customers. It comes with the solid stick deodorant. It comes with the cream deodorant. This guy, I haven't experimented as much with this, and I want to try it out. It says it's for pits, packages, and feet. So I mean, you put it on your mail.
Yeah, your mail.
Your mail,
Put it on your mail.
Elements, yes. And 2 free products of your choice. And you get it with free shipping. We have a discount code to help you get hooked on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code BREAKROOM at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. And use our code to let them know we sent you there.
Alicia VP in the chat, regular chatter, said that they bought Mando for their husband and that it works great. So thank you, Alicia, for doing that.
It does. Absolutely. I swear by it. It's really good stuff. If you're funky like me, get that Mando, baby. Okay.
All right. The last what if we wanted to pose today. What if The Flash had been good?
Wild. Now, James Gunn had been brought in before The Flash came out.
Yes.
So they'd already flipped over the administration, so it's not like a world where like, oh, The Flash is good, so James Gunn is not in charge of the DC.
Yes.
They still bring in Gunn, they still bring in Safran, put them ahead.
And in fact, Safran has his name on The Flash.
Right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
He got like promoted because he was already working at.
Yeah, he produced a number of.
But
films,
there wasn't any like Kevin Feige type figure, right? Like especially because Warner Brothers, Discovery, like there was this. There's all these different corporate restructurings and like leadership that was controlled, that was overseeing the films at this time, right?
Yeah.
So no like steady hand guiding it.
Right. I mean, Zack Snyder obviously had a huge impact on a lot of the films, and like Christopher Nolan even had a kind of distant, lingering touch, especially on some of the earlier Snyder films. Right. He was still listed as a producer. So like, but if it's building to and if it delivered on what David Zaslav says was the best movie he'd ever seen in his life, or something like that, weren't that some of the quotes?
Stephen King.
Stephen King loved it. Tom Cruise said it was going to save movie theaters.
Right?
Loved it. Yeah, he was going to put him in the next Mission Impossible. He's going to make it a Flash movie.
Do we think if it ended on, and I know then Aquaman 2 came after The Flash, but like if The Flash was like one of the 2 biggest movies of last year, if people like loved it and made a ton of money, does James Gunn have to reconsider his clean slate and be like, cool, I'll do my own, I'll bring in a new Superman
Yeah.
and we got Creature Commandos, we got these other projects, but I need to keep making Ezra Miller Flash
Well,
movies?
I think that's the thing that's different is that he has to keep Superman. He has to keep Cavill.
They cut
keeps
Superman
Ben
out of the movie,
Affleck.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
more
yeah.
involved in the sequence with Batman
Yes.
and Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and Gal Gadot does make an appearance in
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Flash, right? Yeah.
Because in the Flash, you just have like Superman on like a TV in the
Yeah.
background or whatever. I think the most important thing is like Sasha Calle.
Sasha Calle.
Calle. Apologies, Sasha Calle, who portrayed Supergirl in this. She gets to stay Supergirl.
Yeah.
Which I think there was. I think I saw an interview where
She had a multi-picture deal that
Yeah,
all
yeah.
kind of like
and
fell
it really
through.
bummed me out. Where she's
Yeah.
like, this whole experience bummed her out. Where it was
Yes.
like she was all alone promoting this movie because obviously Ezra Miller was not going to be out there promoting it for good reason. And she kind of lost out on this role that she did. She was like the best part of the movie.
Yeah,
I thought
easy.
And I would love to see that character continue. I think,
Yeah.
in a world where like the Flash is like much better received, replace Ezra Miller. Fine, who
Yeah.
cares? It seemed like the fans wanted the dude from the CW anyways. To
Yeah,
be
they
the
wanted
Flash.
Grant
Gustin.
Gustin.
Yeah,
Come
like
on.
do whatever. Replace
Or
that
our
character.
boy,
it's fine.
Timmy Chalamet.
But I think what James Gunn does is when he comes in, it's not so much a reset, whereas like we're gonna really blow out this kind of multiverse thing that the Flash was trying to do. Because word on the street was the Flash was doing it way before Spider-Man No Way Home. And
Right,
kinda
yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home, because the Flash got delayed so much.
So much.
Spider-Man No Way Home ate their fucking lunch out right from underneath them. And by the time the shitty, and I mean this, the not great looking effects of the other Flashes and Supermans happened in that movie, you're like, well, this is not great.
The worst version of the thing that we got earlier.
And we all love seeing Michael Keaton back in the cowl.
But we saw him in trailers for months
it was
leading up to it.
Every scene was like kind of spoiled already.
Yeah.
And so I think James Gunn continues. I think he can bring in new actors playing some of the characters, but it's more of a multiverse and less of a full reset.
Interesting.
We get an Aquaman 3. We continue the story.
Wonder Woman 3.
Yeah.
You know, Ben Affleck, he finally figured out how to play the character. He's like, I'm back.
Yeah,
Give me one more.
Ben Affleck's back. George Clooney's sticking around. He's doing some stuff.
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot are hanging out in hotel rooms writing 6 more Wonder Woman
Hell
movies.
yeah.
Fucking
Yes.
chain smoking, just
Chain
like
smoking,
typing new
singing
pages.
Imagine.
This is a great idea.
Here's my hot take, right? And I think it's a series of dominoes that could fall. If The Flash is super successful, again, if it's one of the biggest movies of last year, it prints money. But James Gunn is only taking that gig under the condition of, I get to be the boss. Boom, I get clean slate, right? Like, I don't want to make any more Snyder-touched movies, including this version of The Flash, right? So here's what I think. So he says, even though this movie makes $1 billion and like people love it, he's like, I'm not going to do more of that franchise. That only puts more pressure on the things he chooses to do instead.
Yeah.
Right? Then when, Booster Gold or Supergirl or these movies come out and don't do as well as a Flash 2 would have done, right? Like, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure. Warner Brothers Discovery is already like the most leveraged studio in Hollywood. Like, they're pretty desperate for some hits. They can't afford a lot of big misses, right? There's a ton of pressure already on these new DC properties. Like, I think if that happens and he goes and he doesn't have hit after hit, I think if like the first or second miss, right? If Superman doesn't hit and maybe like, Batman doesn't work, right? Like, I think he's gone by like 2028.
I mean, that could still be the case.
That could still happen, but I think it happens faster. I think he bought himself a lot of rope because again, Flash bombed, Aquaman 2 bombed, now even Joker Folie à Deux bombed, right?
Well,
so it's like
and Black Adam.
And Black Adam and Blue Beetle, which didn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
Yes,
a lot of
was
people
in the
saying, what
strike.
if Blue Beetle they had invested more in Blue
And
Beetle? What if Blue Beetle
I'm
had
irritated
strikes?
that he hasn't committed to Blue Beetle at
It's
all. And I don't know why he's
insane
not doing it.
that he
Because you
didn't
could
do that.
easily put that character right into your world.
Yeah.
He fits right in with like Peacemaker and all that
I
stuff.
think he's so excited about his stuff.
Right.
That he doesn't want to be burdened by anybody else's stuff. He's letting the Matt Reeves stuff fly because that stuff is working and doing well. But I bet there's a part of him that wishes that wasn't happening either.
Yeah, I think so.
He wants
I think
to.
you're
I'm
right.
sure he wants it to be if he's going to get blamed no matter what for like DC stuff, he wants to at least be the person driving all of it, right? And to have it all within his control. I mean, the fact that he's even like overseeing the animated series.
I know.
Yeah.
This guy
And
is.
he's gonna direct Peacemaker season 2 and direct Waller and direct Superman.
He's
It's
like, if you're
ooh.
gonna call me the Feige of DC, I get to be the Feige of DC.
I mean, I still think it is gutsy to be like, of all the movies he could direct in DC, he wants to take the Superman. Like, that's gutsy.
I mean,
if that does not work, this whole thing is everyone's gonna be like, what?
But we got to remember, right? He had already done Peacemaker for Warner Brothers, and he was
the
already
Suicide Squad.
and the Suicide. Oh yeah, classically, and he was writing the Superman script before any of this was even announced, or according to him, he was already. It was already writing. That deal was already happening to at least write the script. So. Yeah, I'm very interested. Obviously, it's something we talk about a lot because of how much stakes are on Superman. But it would have been like wild if I think I agree with you, Zach, that he probably would have been like, I got to do my own thing. That's why I took the gig. But then Warner Brothers like, well, your first Avengers level movie, whatever that looks like, is your characters fighting those guys. Bring those guys back in 3 years, and that's still on the table too.
And maybe that's a great point, right? Like ultimately, the what if here is like James Gunn has so much leverage. Like, we say there's a lot of pressure on Superman, but like as long as it does better than the last couple DC movies, they will look at it as going up and to the right. Whereas like if he didn't have that leverage, because either Aquaman 2 or The Flash really hit, right? The studio might have more leverage over him to be like, okay, you can do your stuff, but you also have to give us another Justice League. You have to give us another Flash, right? It's a little bit more one for me, one for them, and it's less this pure James Gunn vision going forward.
And there is a little bit more of an interesting thing then if he's like, okay, well, that's that universe. He like really squares it out either in the press or like in, whatever. It's like, that's that universe. This is this universe. And then there's going to be a convergence or something. I do like this. I know we got to wrap up, but I do like this thought from Omar 37 saying James Gunn should revive the Batgirl movie. That's a really interesting thought I hadn't thought about
if the Flash had done a lot better, because they had already killed the Batgirl movie before the Flash came out.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think if the Flash had done like super well in a world where there's not the strikes should have happened. Those were good. But like if that didn't have to happen because the studios listened from the jump and like Blue Beetle gets a full rollout and does
really well. And
then they're like, all we have left that's finished is Aquaman 2. Let's finish this Batgirl movie and like keep the ball rolling. If we're on a good momentum train, I think they felt like we're just getting this.
They're never.
I mean, Shazam. We didn't mention Shazam 2, which
Fury of the Gods also bombed. Batgirl can never come out. They've already written it off for tax purposes, right? Like that. Those bills have already come due, right? Like they can never release it, even though it would be like this incredibly fan friendly thing. The amount of money it would now cost them to put that out.
Yeah. But he could cast the actress, Leslie Grace, as Batgirl in Batman Brave and the Bold. Like that, especially if it's like the Bat family, there's lots of room for that actress to come back in that role. H. Basso asking, how much seat does Gunn have before it gets a bit hot? Very fun way to put that question.
I mean,
I think the first movie.
I think it's the first, because Superman's next year, right?
Yeah.
It's all 2025. It's
July 2025. And honestly, if Creature Commandos doesn't make any waves, if nobody likes it, it doesn't get any kind of numbers.
I don't know. Animation's different. I think it's a TV series. Like, I don't think they're putting as much pressure on it for that.
I will say, and it'll be fascinating, like, if Superman comes out and, like, maybe critics don't like it, but it makes a ton of money. If critics love it, it's not a super hit, right? Like, it makes a lot less than Fantastic Four, but it still does pretty good for DC. Like, I think all those things are fine. Like, I think if it's a Flash, who daddy?
Give me your variety headline for Superman's great and Superman's bad.
Okay, Superman's great. Man of Steel, the box office money.
I like that.
Superman soars to $200 million opening weekend
in a single bound.
Yes.
Now the flop title, and they always have the most fun when something fails.
I think Caped Crusade Air. Although I guess Batman was more the Caped Crusade.
Yes.
It does well. Superman lives! ! Right.
That's a good one.
It does bad. Last Son of Krypton?
Pooper Man?
Shitter Man?
Pooper Man Crackasy? Crapacy?
Box office Kryptonite?
That's it. Box office Kryptonite. It wrote itself.
That's a good one.
I really hope that movie's good.
Real quick.
Lex Luthor?
That's good.
He's not going to be in the movie. Or no, I guess Nicholas Hoult is. Real quick, if they continued the Flash franchise, but they recast Austin Butler in it,
baby,
What are some lines of dialogue?
Oh, Mama, I'm so hungry. Oh, I ran so much today. I gotta get a little snackaroonie.
Oh, Mama, I never should have lived over his flesh. Kill ya.
Oh, I gotta put these babies inside these microwaves, Mama. Oh, Daddy.
Oh, Mama, that's a flashpoint paradox, Mama. Oh, is that a Nicolas Cage? I don't know. He changed ethnicity there. That one, I don't know.
Some kind of Martian manhunter or something like that. Oh, Mama. That man turned into a gas. Passed right through me. You should see how fast I run out of these blue suede shoes, Mama.
Oh, so good.
Shri also saying, is that a plane? Is that a bird? It's a flop.
Ooh,
That's very good.
The box office.
It's a plane, it's a bird, it's a flop.
Yeah.
That's right, yes.
I really like this. I like posing these what ifs.
Tanked faster than a speeding bullet.
Ooh,
Okay.
yeah.
That's gracious.
Maybe something we'll do again. I had the whiteboard out in case we were gonna go crazy, and we
should
I
have.
thought about it.
We should have been this leads to this leads to that.
Yeah.
For visuals, but yeah.
Next time.
check
What
it
if-
out
What
next
if we had
time.
used the whiteboard?
What if on season 2, episode 2 of the Breakroom? Okay, that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitch where we do videos like this live. I hear this every day. I write it every day, and I still can't say it out loud.
He doesn't write it every
Follow.
day. He copies and pastes it.
Don't tell them. I have to tell you guys.
Evan, if you're writing these from scratch every day,
It's not efficient.
no.
what do you think I do over there? I'm sitting over there.
I know you're not making points on our Marvel Snap Alliance. I know that much.
Plug
Been
Breakroom
letting us
socials if
down.
you don't want to plug yours. Follow Breakroom NR on all social media, and we'll catch you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Which camera do I look at?
One.
One.